All right, so we had this posted by Ayako, and yeah, I looked through it earlier, and I thought it was like much improved. And just to show like the two frames, this is the new one, and I think what immediately stands out to me is how much clearer the character is. Like the character sits forward, that fog isn't like covering her, and I just get this strong sense of her on the frame. And before, she was kind of being like milked out by all the fog. And it's a common trick to, when you're laying this in comp, is to kind of take the IDs of your character and just gain it down over like where your character is, and like not entirely so that they don't feel like they're in the fog, but just enough that they stand out like through it, because the last thing you want to do is hide your character, unless the shot calls for you really hiding your character in the fog. But yeah, so I feel like this is really nice, how much like contrast we've gotten back. And then like as the shot plays, I think there's like some other nice things that we've got. Like you went for that, like I remember you showed some art for that show that everyone likes to watch. And I think like you're finally in a place where you're getting to it. I feel the color in her hair, the strong rims. Like I feel like your fog is now really nice. I'm actually feeling these like shadows much more now. That was something we talked about before, is like getting those shadows to read. And then I always like this one. I think that's moving really nice. So the only note that I have is right here, the hero shot. Sorry, I'm hesitating. I'm trying to like find a way to explain. So I think like the frame, or like the frame read is a little weird. Okay, so let me I'm gonna grab a roto paint real quick. I think this will kind of okay. So when I look at this frame here, I see like three main things. One is like this area is like one color for the most part. It's like very even. I see this part here that has like a lot of kind of color and contrast and shape. And then I also see like the character in the middle here. So I know it's a bad roto here, but like I think this side of the frame needs work to not feel so like heavy with that fog, especially because it looks like your character is actually dividing the frame between one side and the other. Like this side here, it looks very natural to me, and then this side here just seems like something's wrong, or I don't know how it's structured, but I think you need like once you go up here. So here's my like this frame is really nice. You're getting ramping all the way to the edges, right? And then once you lay down the character like this, I think you need to like keep that ramping. And the other thing I want to say is like a shot may look a certain way here. So just trying to find the frame. So a shot may look a certain way at this angle, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it needs to look that way here. So like if you had a light back here or like some kind of fog back here that was from a different light at the beginning of the shot, you can use this like opportunity when she's in the air to kind of turn it off, like turn that light off now, and then when she's back here you won't notice it. Basically what I'm looking for is kind of a radial fog that starts here or whatever when she's coming down and then emanates this way, and then like so it'll be darker in this corner here, because it's just something about the structure of the like brightness and the fog here just really kind of falls apart. And I also feel this light here, that's coming from this way, but like if I go back in your frames, like I'm not seeing it anywhere else, so I feel like you're putting in an extra spotlight here when really just one spotlight coming down here will probably do the trick of like framing your character, giving you those dark edges, and then just focusing our eyes like right on the character right here. So that's kind of what I would do. Like this last frame is going to be the last thing anyone sees of this shot, and so this has to be perfect. Like this frame here is really cool, but it's gonna last like very shortly in their minds because they're gonna keep watching and they're gonna go here. This is gonna be their last like view of your shot, and that's gonna be the taste that kind of lingers. So you need to make sure like this last frame is perfect. More so than the start. Like the start is one thing because maybe you want it as a thumbnail, or maybe it's going to come up, but like that last frame is just going to be so important for you, especially because it's such a power pose. Also, like I don't understand the shot. Like this is an aside, but she kicks this guy and then she just does a backflip and like lands. Like I don't know.
Yeah, it's actually set up. It doesn't show that much on the crop. She actually lands. She smashes the robot that is laying down and is not dead yet until she smashes it. But it doesn't show that well on the there. Yeah.
I see. Like it's just like I see. Yeah, it's such a like strange, such a strange shot to me. So it makes me laugh.
Yeah. She's just being naughty.
Yeah, it's just like kick his butt, like backflip. Sorry, it's just an aside. But yeah, I think you've managed to get like the hair looking nice. I like your contrast structure here. And again, I know your reference, so I feel like you're pretty close to that. I just think like you need like this ending to be a little better, especially with regards to the framing of that fog. There's one last thing I'm going to mention, is that viewing your fog throughout the shot, I don't really get a sense of like what kind of light is like shooting this thing out. So I'm going to try to illustrate. Here I feel like it's this light that's giving out this light, right? But it's got a strong like barn on it, so maybe the barn looks something like this, and then it's causing the light to kind of flare that way, the fog or something like that. Just I'm not sure, so I'm just kind of guessing. And then let's follow the light here. So here again, I feel like maybe it's some kind of square light, but there's like somehow the barn has kind of, you know, changed a little bit. When she jumps over it, sometimes I get this like phantom one here, but the main brightness looks like it's a circle. I can't actually darken this. I was actually talking to Jasmine today about like EXRs so that it'll be easier to look into this stuff. But here I see something like this. And then it sort of comes back together. I don't know if like just going back and forth, this is what I'm seeing. And then, you know, she lands, and then the last bit I see is, again, I see a square or like a rectangle, but then I see this like core. So I think you might be like mixed, and then here, like as it plays, you can see like it moves again. And I think what's happening is that that's causing like a bit of a confusion in the way that, you know, like of like what you feel of the light, you know, because I'm constantly asking myself, like, is it a rectangular light? Is that what's hitting? Is that what's causing this like light and fog? Is it a circular light? You know, like, am I seeing it wrong? You know, like, and so I think one of the things you can do to help yourself with this shot is to identify clearly what the source of that light is, and then make it read like that light throughout it. Because I'm getting the sense that you're mixing lights, like you have one fog and then maybe a second fog, or you have one light that the camera is seeing, but then the fog itself is like a disc or something and it's wide. So it's like maybe you do have a square light here that's giving us this rim, but then the fog light is circular or something, and then the two adding together look a little weird. So, you know, my advice would be to like figure out, or maybe this is part of like the flare that's happening, and that's why it's moving. I can see that too. But I feel like it's all very close, and it's like it's not playing in like a simple to understand way, you know, like you're just not feeling the light type. You know, like here, so let me give you another example of something that it's like here you have a bright source there, and then it fades off to the back here. So it seems to me like some of that light is going this way, but then the majority of the fog is going this way. So it's making me think, well, maybe it's like a sphere or something, or some kind of light that's giving light in like vastly different, you know, directions. But I think your job is to kind of like make it read like a specific light. You know, maybe there's a floodlight back there, and that's the light that's giving the fog. Sometimes it helps, like, I'm not sure if you actually have like a model there that's, you know, that it would be emanating from, but sometimes it helps to have a model, because it helps you like determine what that light is, you know. And I'm not saying that, like, you know, every light has to have a source, because, you know, we definitely throw in like kick lights and bounce lights and top lights and stuff like that. But I think in this case, it would help, maybe even just for yourself, to like know what type of light is actually causing this. Because I think depending on the type of light, you would get different results. For instance, if it was square, I would expect to feel some kind of soft edges emanating from this guy. Is that last one right? Let's do that. If it was, you know, like if it was some kind of other light, you know, you just get a sense of it based on like how your fog is set up. So, the last note I have for you is that I think like this light needs some work, and it needs to like give the audience a sense of like what is actually there. It's not so important like, it's not like a story thing where it's like, oh, this is important, we need this to, to move on, and like it's important, but it's just important to like the viewer, because if it's something if it's something they know, right, then they're not questioning it. But if it's something weird, then it kind of calls attention to itself. So I would tell you to look at reference of like sci-fi films, right? And then look at like the things that they do that are normal, and then the things that they do that are like that make you feel a little weird, and then ask yourself like why that is. And sometimes it's just like this lighting makes no sense, and it makes you feel a ways about it because it's like odd. um, and then when the lighting is normal, like they're just having dinner or something like that, right? Like they'll never use lights that are making you feel anxious or something like that. They just want a normal light that you're feeling at that moment. um, and you might say like, well, this is one of those moments where I'm going to use an odd light to make people feel a certain way. But I would counter with, this is kind of an action shot, and you're really trying to like view the action. It's not like a slow action shot either. It's not like a horror kind of thing. It's like, Michael Bay level work. So, um, I mean, the shot itself is kind of like Michael Bay, right? Not what you're doing. Um, so, I think you have to kind of treat it as that like actiony shot where, we're viewing the characters and all that stuff. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think like everything you've done so far has been like an improvement. I feel like I'm reading the characters a lot. I think you have like some really nice key moments in here. I do like how this is like shaping up. I really like that ramp that you have. That's really giving me the vibes of your reference. And yeah, I think when it comes down to it, it's just like this ending here, that's really holding you back. Like this coming this way, and then the light from above also coming in and crossing, I think is just kind of like making some confusing uh, line work. So I would just simplify it as much as possible, and then see about what's happening here. I'd really like love to look at your setup if you have time. Just give me a screen grab of like your light setup for this, uh, and we can like chat about it, because I think that maybe there's some complexity going on here that doesn't need to be there, and I'd love to kind of help you with that. But yeah, I mean, I think that's nice. I'm liking like the rims and stuff like that on your character, and I like that the hair's reading. Before I move on, I wanna talk about one other thing. Like I know like a lot of you guys are using like Arcane as reference, um, and I think that's cool. Like that show is really nice. But what I want you to recognize is Arcane has like a very specific look where the like every element in the frame is helping that look. So what I mean is like down to the shading and the way the shots were composed, and like the light setups themselves, like what they chose to put in and what they didn't, is like all in service of that like style and look. And they did like a wonderful job of it. And like sometimes it's harder to do that, like that, to get that feeling um, with like more basic uh, assets, like because it's like if you're going for like a really artistic shot and the the shading is kind of like more simplistic, it can like you're working against what the shot itself is doing. So just uh, like be careful about what references you pick and where you choose to use those references, and make sure that like you can kind of marry the two, um, like well when you're putting it together. That being said, I think you did a really good job with the lighting, and I do think like if the assets were shaded a certain way, like if they felt a little hand painted, like they do in that show, like you'd be right there. So all I'm saying is like, I think the lighting is working really well, and it's like if you like a better asset would essentially get you to that point, like tomorrow. Um, so yeah, I think you did a really great job here. So keep going with it, and like I said, please, I'd love to see like what you're doing with this, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you just have a simple fog or something like that, a simple light, and it's just it's I'm just viewing it wrong. It could totally be it too, but it's just like the way that I feel like maybe something's happening here. Some combination of lights is like making it a little weird. So yeah, keep going. I think you have like a good shot here. So keep working on it. And even though I'm not like giving feedback anymore after today, feel free to contact me. And then, like I said, Linda's awesome. So definitely continue to show her. And I can like one thing I'll try to do with Linda is I'll get together with her maybe this weekend, and I'll talk to her about some of the shots that are IP, um, so that she doesn't go into it like blind. I'll talk to her about like all the notes that we gave, and I'll give her like all my files of your previous work, so that she can kind of look through it and see the progression. I think that's important for her to give you proper notes. So yeah, I don't want you to like start from zero with her um, over the next month. Okay, so moving on. This one is Paul's, and I was hoping he'd be in by now, but I guess he's not. All right, so Paul did this like really nice work. This was his previous. Yesterday, we talked about maybe getting some kind of overhead, like fog, and then potentially putting in some actual assets back here, because it looks a little well, it just didn't look like a professional shot. It just looked like a background with a lighting test. And I think we can do maybe something to marry the two. So this was his like first attempt. He did a number of things actually. He added the volumetric. He fixed the contrast. I think he just wanted to have a little bit more contrast over here. He added two more octopuses behind here. Is it octopuses? Am I wrong? Anyway, more defined rim, because I think he wanted it to feel like the art that he had. He changed the subsurface of the character, I think probably to feel some more of it in the hands. Yeah, so you can kind of see like how much more of that subsurface is coming through now, and it doesn't feel so dark there. I think that was a good move. He darkened the background to have more contrast, darkened the right eye in the cards, and more depth of field on the cards. So he kind of blurred these out more, so that because of the background was so blurred, I think he tried to like put that all together. Okay, Paul, I think you've done a really nice job here. This is like a real step up, I think, in terms of like how this guy is lit, how he's looking. The subsurface helps a lot. I think like the cards getting into more of a normal range is really helping. Like you don't see this like, this is kind of like all over range yesterday. You can see the 1-1. I'm sure it was over 1 on the reds and the greens yesterday. So, and then same thing with the eye. And now you just have like a much nicer like look here. Okay. So yeah, everything you're doing is good. I had some thoughts on this that I think you might be able to do, and like it'll solve a lot of your issues. The one thing is, I think this light is too tight up above. So let me grab a paint. Okay. And this might be like my fault because maybe I drew it tight yesterday. But actually, I think a green will stand out. Okay. So I think it should, I like what you have. I just feel like it's too pointed, like it's too perfectly over, like, over him. Like this is, like these are fogs that you want to put on like an angelic type figure, where there's like a core and it's coming down from like the heavens or whatever, this, it feels too like nice. Instead, it should feel like maybe a little seedy, or something. So I think the fog should kind of be a little wider. So maybe like that wide, and then, have it come down like that, or maybe less like that, and have the edges be really soft. So essentially keep what you have, because I like this like breakup, but just make it so that it's not coming down. You don't want it to be a point like this. You want it to kind of be a point like that, so it's the whole thing is wider, and then it's just coming in kind of top down. I think that will have that effect of making it like a little seedier, and less of that like nice like, shape language that's used for like beauty lighting. So I think that's the first thing I would do, and then like make sure like check some levels, like try some different things, like the brightness here might be a little much. You might want it to start like here, like this value, or maybe this value at the top, and then fall off to like nothing, here. Because I think like maybe it seems like I can feel that the source ends like just off camera or something like that, and you don't want to like you don't want to kind of give that away. You don't want people to know like where that source is really dying or starting from, rather. The other thing I was going to say, I'm just going to keep in line with this. I think like this is all working really nice, but I would make sure to get rid of the specular hits on his eyes, and then stick a ding, like stick a ding in there, because I know like they're really small. Let's see if I can get one small enough. Like it's really small, but it still makes a big difference if you have one and you don't, like it's like that white dot will definitely draw people's eyes to your character. So even though it's small, I would definitely do that, and I would essentially get rid of I would get rid of that's terrible, but I would just get rid of like some of those other bright spots on the eye, and I think that'll help like sell that like CG animated character look a little bit better. Okay, so let's see what else. Okay, the last thing that I had for you was I don't think this is working. I think like it feels like you just took the character and moved them over, right? But I think what's actually working about it is that you're putting in these like dark figure shapes in there, And I think that that's kind of what you need. So you like did the right thing, like visually, but not with the right asset, you know. So I'm gonna try to, instead of like painting this out, I'm gonna. Oh, it's not gonna work. Here, I'm gonna just. Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out how I can do this in a good way. All right, I'm gonna do something real strange here. So, okay, so I think you're on the right, and I know I'm working on the other piece, but I think you're on the right path. So what I would do is maybe a good like avenue to go down is like a dark shape like this with a strong rim, right? And then but not this character. Like you need to like find other characters that you can kind of place behind him and like artificially make them like taller and shorter, you know, kind of stuff. And like don't give them a lot of screen time in terms of like if you're going to view them. They should be dark and they should be kind of blurry. And I think that's going to help to like place something in your scene, like a shape. You know, you're going to feel the shape of these characters. You're not going to feel the, oh, Paul, you're here. So you're going to feel the shape, but not any detail. So what I was going to try to do, so let's see if I can. So imagine that you had shapes like this. I'll try to change it.
So I should use characters or tables or assets like casino style.
I think like essentially it doesn't matter what you're going to put back there, because at the end of the day, like what I was going to just do two. Let me do like two of these and I'll show you. um, so you have like two things back here like this, right? It could be like a character, it could be like uh, it could be, it really doesn't matter what it is. And then, and so they're just like dark shapes, right? And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna roto some bar. Sorry, I know this is like painful. Okay, so it's not looking super good, but what I'm getting at is like dark shapes behind them that are kind of like thrown in there, with some of that same rim. And it could be anything, like just like take some assets from other stuff and just like stick it back there. It could be tables. I mean, that's a good idea. Like if these were chairs or something like that, it could be other characters that you were in there, but you want to see them about as much as you're seeing this guy. And like the most important thing is that they're all going to have rims. So have you guys watched Euphoria on HBO?
Oh, yet.
You should. It's, I mean, the content you may like or may not. I think it's awesome, but they have these like amazing party scenes, and like the lighting in the show is absolutely like top tier. Um, but I'm trying to show you like they have party scenes where like most of the characters in there are pretty much shadowed 100%, like they're just like in shadow or in like a very low base color, something like what you have. And then they have these like really strong rims on the character. So um, you can kind of use that as reference. And like what happens is when you do something like that, you have like these like shapes behind with like very low level, and you have these rims, is they all like merge into like this like weird shape behind the character, and you don't notice it anymore. So like whatever you're doing here is fine, like the two, but you need to like I would use a different asset so that it doesn't look like the same one here. uh, this level of darkness with a rim that's like maybe a little bit less bright than this, um, and then like just like all over along the backside. You want to have like different shapes back there, and then they should be blurred like with depth of field, maybe a little bit more than this guy. So we can do a test right now. So like imagine something like that on those characters back there. So if I just do a roto.
Wait.
Because then I think your characters, like that stuff is going to sit back there. It's going to create shapes. It's going to have like its own little like shape language that you're going to create behind this character, and the rims will kind of sell that they're in the same world. So you want this like dark red color, right? And then some rims, and then like a bunch of assets behind there to show that they're in some kind of like room or something like that. And you can bring them as close or as far as you need to make like a good um, like a good looking composition. But again, like you don't want to get a lot of detail from them. So if I bring, actually I think you're let me see if I can, I think it's these three. Yeah, so this is exactly what I'm talking about. You see how like they're all kind of the same base color? Except for like, obviously some of them are more yellow, some of them are more red, but they're all dark, and they all have this like rim that like kind of unites them in the scene. So I think you need that, and I think you were like, you're getting there with this thing that you put together, like putting these guys in there. But I think you just need other assets. So try that, and then we can see how that plays out. Paul, were you here when I was talking about the character's eyes?
Sorry.
Were you here when I was talking about the octopus's eyes?
About the eye things,
Yeah.
I just see you put the eye things, and I saw it improved so much.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't know like when you came in. That's why I'm asking. So I just wanted to make sure um you saw like the dings. And then did you hear about like the fog?
No.
Okay. So I was saying like the fog I think needs to be like wider, you know, like coming just from top down and soft. Um I brought up like a thing where like this kind of shape language. Here, I'll try it again. So this kind of shape language that you have, that's like this, you know, like very defined, is kind of like angelic. It's kind of like a moment
Uh,
where someone's either like in a spotlight because or maybe they did something like really bad, or like what I mean, like you're just putting them in a spotlight. But I think what you want is like a seedier kind of like bar look, and I think generally those lights, like you want it to be a little wider. So I would just, instead of that shape being like this, you want to feel it like that.
okay.
Okay. So if I draw real quick, like it's like something like that, and then fuzzed along the edges, right? Like kind of soft, like you have it here. And then I think uh, try to make it so that it's not this bright over here. Like I would use this brightness as a start, or maybe this brightness, and then have it ramp off to nothing like you do. Because I think
Okay.
I think what happens is when you have a really bright source at the top, you can tell that the light is coming to an end. You know what I mean? Like the source is really close to being off frame, and you want to make it seem like that light is really natural. Like like if I take a like if this is your squid or your octopus, sorry, like right now it looks like the light's doing this, but like you can kind of feel it, and you want to make it seem like the light is doing this. Um, because I think like it gives you a more like pleasing look when you don't like feel like that light is just off camera, you know, like it feels more natural. I think like a
Uh,
lot of a
okay.
lot of like lighters make that mistake where like here's the frame, here's your house. This is this is getting bad now, my drawings. And then like the light is like right here, you know and the reason why that's not good is because like you feel the source too much, and suddenly you can tell that there's like a light just off camera that's coming in, whereas like in a you know in like a real way, you'd want the house to be lit kind of evenly by whatever light you were putting on there. I mean, there's always cases, so you would put it out further because the drop off would mean that it was in a better like a better spot. So, um, yeah, it's like unless you really want to feel the sourciness, that's like a word people use a lot. Is like sourcey, like something feeling sourcey. It means that like you can feel where the source of that light is coming from too much. Um, so that's kind of what I would. That's kind of what I would do. But I think all your changes that you made are super awesome. Like I love this. I love the level of his eyes. I really really like the subsurface stuff. I like your idea with this because I think it kind of spurred like that like I think you kind of really nailed like the look of the characters back here. But you just need that rim and just more and more varied characters back there. So yeah, I like pretty much everything you did here, and I think you're on the right path. So yeah, keep going at it.
That's great.
Yeah. I think like whoever made this image is missing like an opportunity to put like 5 aces here, you know?
Yeah.
It's like 5 aces.
That would be pretty good.
But yeah. So yeah, that's it. That's all we have for today. I will unshare, but I'll keep Nuke open in case there's any questions. Is there any like questions or comments anyone has about what we looked at? All right. Well, it's been really fun giving you guys feedback over the last month. I'm sure I'll be back at some point, but maybe you won't be here when that happens. Yeah, you guys are a strong crew.
We'll be here, hopefully with a job or something, but we'll be here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
And feel free to like contact me, and if you guys ever need like a reference or something, or advice or whatever, let me know. Just contact me anytime.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ah.
Thank you, Chris.
Mm.
Thanks so much. See ya.
Yeah, see ya.
Bye.
Bye.